This video is going to show you how to make a crochet cup just like this one. If you want to make crochet wearables, especially for the summer, you'll definitely want to know how to make a crochet cup like this one so that you can move on to making super cute tops like this one. Alrighty. To begin, I am just using a 4.5mm hook. I would be using a 5mm hook, but I lost mine right before I started this video, so we're doing what we can with what we have. I am also just using white red heart worsted yarn that I got for free from my mom. So to begin, we are just going to do a basic chain, a foundation chain, which if you're not sure how to create this slip knot to start off and then do a foundation chain, I do have a video on that for the fundamentals of crochet part 1. And the length that you will make your chain depends on the size of your breast. So I have a fairly small breast, so I will only be doing 11 chains, but essentially you want your chain to be long enough to go from the very bottom of your breast to the middle of your nipple. So I'm just going to start with 11 chains. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Alrighty. Now I am going to just do single crochets down this row as if I were just doing a normal rectangular project. So if you are not sure how to do a single crochet, I do have a tutorial on that as well, titled The Fundamentals of Crochet Part 2. Alrighty, I just did the final single crochet for this row. Now before we turn our work and start on the next row, we want to make sure that we are always adding a chain 1 stitch before the start of a new row. Then we can turn our work. Alrighty, I just did the final single crochet for this row. Now before we turn our work and start on the next row, we want to make sure that we are always adding a chain 1 stitch before the start of a new row. Then we can turn our work and start the new row. The reason for that is we want to make sure that the bottom of our cup, which will be this side right here, is nice and straight, and if you skip that step, then it'll make your cup all wonky. So I'm just going to start yet another row of single crochets, starting in this very first stitch. Alrighty, now we have almost worked all the way down this row. So this is where this project starts to be a little bit different than a rectangular project. Because this is a cup and we want it to end up being a triangle in the end, we have to do things a little bit differently. So now at this point, I want to put 3 single crochets in this last center stitch. So I am going to throw 3 single crochets into this center stitch. That's 1, 2, 3, and then I had a stitch marker. I'm going to take a stitch marker and mark that very center stitch, which was the second stitch that we put in there. So I'm going to mark this center stitch, so the next time I go around, I know which stitch is the center. And now, instead of turning our work and moving down this row again, we are just going to continue moving down this row, which is the original foundation chain that we did. We'll just put a single crochet in each of those stitches. Okay, we reached the end of that row, so I am going to chain 1 and flip our project around, and then just do another row of single crochets until I reach our center stitch. Alrighty, now I have reached our center stitch, so I'm going to take out the stitch marker and put 3 single crochets into this single stitch. So this will be 1, 2, and 3, all in that same center stitch. And then I'm going to take the stitch marker and throw it into our new center stitch. And then we're just going to move down that row once more. Alrighty, we finished off that row. Going to do a chain 1 and then move into the first stitch again and start single crocheting down the row again. Now we are once again going to remove our stitch marker and then put 3 single crochets into this single stitch. So that's 1, 2, and 3. And then we're going to remark our center stitch. And then continue with single crochets in each stitch down the row. Alrighty, so now as you can see, our cup is starting to take the shape of a triangle. As long as you are following that same exact pattern, just single crocheting until you reach the center stitch, putting 3 stitches into that center stitch, and then going back down your row, just continuing that, you will eventually get something that is like this. Typically for me, it takes between 10 and 12 rows to reach my desired size, but just keep repeating that pattern until you get the size that you like.